Welcome to Grading 101, Introduction to Grading, brought to you by PCGS. Today we're going to take a look at the tools and techniques of grading. In other words, some of the instruments and tools that our graders use when they grade and some of their techniques that they use for grading. So what are the tools and techniques of grading? Well, first off, there's lighting. Second, we'll talk about magnification. And the third, we'll look at the methodology of examining a coin. To begin with lighting, you need to avoid extraneous outside light sources. In other words, use a single source. Do not be in a room where you're influenced by 3 or 4 different kinds of lighting. In other words, you should be in a fairly darkened room, and the light that's shining on the coin should really be the only light that the coin is receiving at the time you're grading it. Our graders use an incandescent light. I know that's getting politically incorrect these days, but 70 to 75 watt bulb is what we normally use, and we consider that best overall for grading. It gives us a good balance of a natural light and not too bright or intense. Tensor lamps, these small lamps with the small bulbs, are certainly good for portability, and it shows, and many dealers carry them. But in the main grading room, we prefer the larger incandescent lights. Halogen lamps are somewhat new, and they're generally too bright and intense for grading. It'll bring out a lot of flaws and imperfections, but in terms of overall grading, it's just a bit too intense. Fluorescent lamps we do not recommend. That's an indirect light and doesn't allow us to properly read a coin's surface. We would not recommend it actually under any circumstances, except possibly in photography. May avoid creating a hot spot on a coin, but it's certainly not recommended for finding surface marks or flaws or looking at luster. On to magnification. Obviously, magnification is often necessary, particularly when you're dealing with smaller coins and older eyes. We like to use a low-power, high-quality loupe we like to recommend for grading. Usually 5 to 10 power is good. The really high-power stuff, 20 to 30 times, is useful in counterfeit detection or variety identification. A bit too close up for grading. For grading, we don't want to get that close to the coin surface when you're grading normally. We would recommend the following. A Bausch & Lomb has long made a very fine glass called a Hastings triplet. And the triplet is because it uses 3 lenses, and those 3 lenses avoid the distortion at the edges. And that's very important when you're grading. Also, good loupes are made by Zeiss, Eschenbach, and Nikon. Be advised that the normal loupes are not cheap. They sort of start in the $30 to $75 range, and some of the European ones can go well into 3 figures. I wouldn't recommend running out and buying a $100 or $150 loupe, but then again, if you're buying an expensive coin and you want a good look at it, once again, what's another $30 or $40? And again, like I said, look for multiple lenses in the loupes. They provide a flat field. It's very important to avoid this distortion. And the cheaper glasses, just the old-fashioned handheld magnifying glass or the folding magnifying glasses that fit in your pocket with a sort of a flat case, those are usually single lenses, and they introduce a lot of distortion. So I would avoid those certainly for grading anyway. Possibly you could use them for reading. And again, we always recommend to take an overall view of the coin without magnification, particularly larger coins such as quarter size and above, because that sort of gives you an overall impression of the coin rather than getting lost in the details of the coin. So take a look at the coin first without magnification before you use any techniques for enlarging the coin. In terms of examination methodology, it's very important to rotate the coin under the light, looking at it from a variety of angles. At certain angles, a scratch or mark or imperfection may be totally invisible, and by tilting the coin only a few degrees in the light, suddenly that mark will seem to jump out at you. So you'll notice when our graders grade, they always rotate the coin under the light on both sides, of course, checking the surface from all different angles. Again, like we said earlier, try and get an overall picture of the coin before examining it closely. You don't want to get lost in the forest for the trees. Don't forget to check the rims for damage, filing, deep nicks or cuts, or particularly evidence of mounting on older coins. A lot of times people forget to check the rims and the edges of the coin, so take a quick look at those. Also check the fields, especially at the top. Don't get too focused on just the main device. Look at those fields, especially on early coins. Again, you want to look for evidence of plugged holes or any other problems that you might see in the fields. And finally, look for an even pattern of wear. Once again, particularly on pre-1836 coins, if certain areas of the coin look unusually sharp, if most of the coin looks heavily worn and there's lots of hair detail, you want to take a look and be careful of any sort of re-engraving or tooling that's gone on with the coin. So once again, look for that even pattern of wear, and you can consult PhotoGrade to see what proper wear is in each grade. So thank you very much for listening, and we'll look forward to seeing you in another webinar from PCGS.